Hi, guys. I hope you're all doing well. I am feeling much better today and realizing that I left some loose ends over this last week. Can't let that happen. So, um, when I woke up this morning, there was grapes and oranges and bananas and apples waiting for me. I think my mother-in-law brought them over. I'm not sure. And then some people stopped by and brought some yogurt, and it was just really nice to wake up and have something fresh. I didn't really eat much when I wasn't feeling too good, so it was a nice treat in the morning. Very thoughtful of them to do that. So before I went up to Jackson Hole, I was telling you guys about how I had this kind of interesting urge to start reading the Bible. And I also talked about how, I wasn't really sure. I was kind of confused a while back on what to do. Like when you realize that you've done everything wrong, then what do you do? Obviously that prayer that I said in the church my parents went to didn't really work, and I didn't understand why. I didn't understand what it meant. And that takes me to a place of how important our understanding really is. And I want to tell you that I know why it didn't work. It's because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand. And I was still it was like I was a coal waiting in a pile for its turn to be burned. Well, the first time I tried that prayer, I was 12. And I felt, to the best of my ability, connected. I believed in Jesus. I went to camps and like youth things, and just life happened, and I made some really poor choices for a while. Really, really poor choices. But during those times, I had a lot of experience that led to understanding later. Kind of like this lifelong recipe that would culminate eventually into something beautiful. So the first time when I was 12 and I did that prayer, we called it the sinner's prayer. I'm not sure what other people call it. It was in the church in front of all the people, and the preacher was saving everybody, and it was all what they do, and it's kind of weird because it's like it's the same words and it's the same concept that happened later, only on a completely different scale. Because by the time I was ready, I had been burned a lot. I needed it. I needed a lot of experience on my journey, and I got it. I got what I needed. So the next time I came and understood the level of understanding that I had gained from walking in the world and being a part of the world was so much more than had I not. It led me down so many different paths that I just, I can't be ungrateful for any of them, because they all made me who I am today, and they helped me to see what I needed to see. And those are some of the things that I've talked about in previous videos. So when I finally came to Christ, I just wanted to know him. I knew he was there. I knew he was real. I knew that. Like, I knew. But I didn't have any understanding that was legitimate. And I asked him to give it to me. I think 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, I thought that I was getting it. I thought that I was understanding. I thought that, that things were making sense to me, but it wasn't quite there yet. And so I kept praying. I kept diligent. I kept reading. I kept watching. I kept looking. I kept going inside, and I just kept and kept and kept. And what wound up happening is my thought processes kind of changed. Instead of always thinking about me, I mean, I was going internal and looking at my life, my choices, my behaviors, the things that I was doing, with the way that they were affecting people, the world. I was looking at so many different things that I forgot to look at. I forgot to look at God. I forgot to, for a long time. And then I was like, wait, maybe this isn't all about me. Maybe there's something bigger here, and maybe I have a chance to be a part of it. And my mindset changed from wanting to understand to loving God, to loving him, to loving what happened, and to being willing to go exploring in a different land. And what started happening was, it was mind-blowing. It was awesome. Incredible. And it wasn't necessarily saying these exact words, but it was the spirit in which I sent it out. It was my truth, I spoke my truth. And things started happening that were, to anybody else looking at my life from the outside in, they would want to rescue me. I've had people want to rescue me, but I don't want to be rescued. Not by people. And I don't need to be rescued, because I have Jesus. I have God. I have the name above all names. I have the understanding. And I don't have anything religious to offer with that, other than, that's, it is real. No doubt about it. Absolutely no doubt about it. So, scripturally, there's a couple of things that I wanted to talk about tonight, and this is stuff that touches me in a really interesting way. So in I had to write down them, because I don't normally go by the numbers and stuff in the book. I read it and then I remember it, or I listen to it and then it works for me that way. So, that in Luke 21, 1 through 4, and then in Mark in 12:41, talks about, let's just read it. I have this cool, here, I'll show you my Bible. This is my grandma's Bible, actually. So this is the red letter edition of the King James Version. It's kind of worn a little bit, but so I'm here in Luke 21, verse 1 through 4. This is where some of the parables come into play and stuff. I love parables. They got me in trouble a little while ago, sort of, but I got out of it because I reconciled it. That's one of my favorite words. You guys got to look into that. It's a pretty cool word. The reconciliation is a beautiful thing. I love doing it. So let's go here. And he looked up and saw the rich men casting their gifts into the treasury. And he saw also a certain poor widow casting thither 2 mites. And he said, Of a truth I say unto you, that this poor widow has cast in more than they all. For all these have given of their abundance, and cast into the offerings of God, but she of her penury had cast in all the living that she has had. So when that landed on me the first time, it landed on my man mind. And so I'm thinking, well, she only had 2 cents. She put it in the offering thingy or whatever. And they were wealthy and they put in their 10%. But when I take and I look at that with my spiritual mind, that changes into, I give my life. I give everything back. I give it all back. I give it to you. It's all yours. It's everything. Do what you will. Take it. That's what that means to me. Like, I don't see anything about money in there. These guys are like, well, we'll go to church on Sunday for an hour. That'll do. Then we'll just go do whatever. We'll give them our few bucks here and there. We'll do enough to stay in membership and, be able to go to the temple and be blessed and have our doctor buddies rub elbows with us. Whatever that looks like for different people, right? So let's go look and see if there's any differences in Mark 12:41. I had it bookmarked. I think it fell out. Give me just a second, guys. See, I did have it bookmarked. It just got stuck in there. So there it says, and Jesus sat over against the treasury and beheld how the people cast money into the treasury. And many that were rich cast in much. And there came a certain poor widow, and she threw in 2 mites, which makes a farthing. And he called unto him his disciples, and saith to them, Verily I say to you, that this poor widow hath cast more in than all they which have cast into the treasury. For all they did cast in of their abundance, but she of her want did cast in all that she had, even all her living. So if you've ever been in a place where you want nothing more than that relationship with Christ, whatever name you call him, the Son, God's only begotten Son. When you desire that relationship and you cast that desire, it happens. It doesn't happen in a way that will land correctly in the mind of men. It will happen probably the opposite. But it is a beautiful thing. Those verses just like, I'm like, wow, I get that. Like, I really get that. It's pretty cool. It's really cool. Okay, so enough Bible talk for a moment. There's a couple of other things that I wanted to talk about. And one of them is about this fight that I had in junior high school. When I was a kid, I did a lot of moving. And I didn't make very many friends. And around the 7th grade, I found a couple of friends. And they were really, really fun. But they were also the only kids that would let me participate in any kind of socialization with them. So, some weird stuff happened and some new kids moved into the neighborhood, and one thing led to another, and I was in this fight that I didn't want. I didn't want to be involved in this fight. I grew up in a big family that dealt with a lot of violence on a daily basis. I knew how to be violent. I knew how to take a hit. But that was something that I never expected. There was a note in my locker, and all the kids in school were talking about how I was going to get my butt kicked. And somebody pulled the fire alarm, and all the kids went out, and I was trying to get away from it. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to go. I had to leave the school. I tried to hide in the bathroom, and they came and got me out. And when I got outside, all of the school was... My name's Brittany, right? Always has been since I was born here. All the kids were calling me like a Brittany Spaniel. Like doing the thing, come here, pup, you know. And it was such a sad feeling. Because I didn't do anything. And it felt like they were all going to beat me up. I was heartbroken because all the kids that I thought were my friends, even people that I had defended, people that I had protected, because that was me. I was the kid that stood up to the kids, for the kids that were getting bullied, and everybody was doing it. And then it came. She was coming at me. It was a girl. And she hit me. And I took her down. I had my hand like pinning her down because I didn't want her to be able to hurt me. And I'm thinking, if I just hold her down. And I was thinking that like the teachers would come over pretty quick and pull me off of her, whatever. And she was getting up. She bit me. Like she bit me really hard. But I didn't hit her. I just pushed her down. And I held her on the ground. And I just wanted it to all stop. I just wanted it to all go away. I didn't get in any trouble. She got in trouble. At least I don't recall getting in any trouble for it. But I was just so hurt by that, you know? I don't understand how people can be so cruel. Because that's not something I would ever do to somebody. I mean, I've done plenty of other cruel things to people. So what's the difference, right? I don't know. Is there one? over time, I was able to just say it was kid stuff, you know. But it was important for me to go back and look at that so that I could see what really happened there. Not from my own perspective, but from their perspective. What caused them to want that for me? I don't know. I have my ideas. It's different for every person. So every person's reasoning for doing what they do is individualized and personalized. And so is God's plan for every one of us. Some seem like a better, easier path, and some seem like a harder, more difficult path. But if you're willing to walk it, it's all worth it in the end. Like, I would go through everything that I've been through again to be where I am now. And there's a lot of people that help me to be able to have the understandings that I do today. And it's both the hard stuff and the good stuff. So it's just a really fun combination. So before, I don't know how long ago it was, I had talked about having this, it was right around the time when my son got kaboomed. Whatever happened there. I had this really awesome spiritual experience. One that I've been trying to figure out how would I explain it to people so that they could understand and maybe try to rationalize it in their mind. So the best thing that I could describe it as is, can you imagine if an angel came to you and treated you like royalty because you were, and greeted you with honor and love that was genuine and full, and bowed, not bowed down in worship, but like just bowed as a greeting. And then you knew that you just wanted to do the same. There was like an equal exchange of this honoring each other. But it's still interesting to try to talk about. So when I was a kid and I said, Jesus, come into my heart, I didn't really know that he could. I didn't really know that he could. So when they say prepare your heart, to me, that's what that means. If whoever your religious icon is came to you and said, I would like to enjoin my spirit with yours, are you willing to let me try? Would you let him in? Would you let him go take a tour around your universe, your spirit, your whatever you want to call it? Would you be afraid of what he would find? Or would you be so excited that he was there? You'd be like, come on, let's go, do this, to the point where you never wanted to not do that. So that's why I do what he asks me to. I trust the Holy Spirit. I trust in all of this plan because it's so big. I haven't seen the whole thing. I know I haven't. I've had a glimpse. a brief glimpse, and it's enough to light my spirit forever. It's enough that I know. It's enough that I no longer question. And now when I read in the Bible, the words mean different things to me, and I can see them in a deeper sense, and it's just beautiful. Everything is beautiful. And if you weren't prepared, if that day came for you and you weren't prepared, what do you think would happen? This is something that I don't know. I think a lot of people, they think about without realizing that they're thinking about it, because we tend to be protective of who we are, our private knowings, our private things. But would you try to protect it from me than God? It just seems silly to me. Like, why would you do that? Because you're scared he's going to hurt you? Is it like when your mom's mad and it's like, wait, she says, wait till your dad gets home, he's going to beat your ass or whatever? Is it that kind of a fear that we have? And I think that that's where a big part of this big lie comes into play, because when I was there with that angel, there was something that I hadn't wanted to let go of. And it was like this angel was singing my truth from inside of me to the King of Kings. And it was the most beautiful song. And then when there was something, it was like there was just a little flutter, and it wasn't like the end of the world. It wasn't like he was casting me into ever burning fire pit. It was like, oh my God, I love you type of a thing. He still loved me. And I let him have it. It's like, can I have this? He's like, yeah, you can have it. So I gave that to him too. I gave it all. I have a hard time explaining things because my mind works a lot different, I think. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe I just have a hard time talking about stuff, but I've been quiet for a very, very long time. I'm a quiet person, and I'm learning how to have voice. I'm learning how to share what I'm learning, and it's all beautiful. So, that mercy seat, which comes first? Is it like judgment and then mercy, or mercy and then judgment? Or do they flow together? Like, do they just flow together? They do for me. I used to have like a rigidness about me that it kind of followed me like a shadow. And I didn't even realize it was there. I always had it's like almost like anxiety kind of a feeling. Only it was something dirty, because it caused me to walk around in judgment all the time of other people. Not in a good way. But when I learned how to let that go, things blossomed that I never thought were possible. And the thing is, it's something everybody can have. Everybody. And it's so beautiful that you could be doing the dirtiest job and you can be somewhere else at the same time. Holding hands with Jesus, walking and learning. Anyway, I love you guys. And I hope you start reading this book. Or at least start talking to God.